I call this meeting of the Northeast Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Although members of the board are not gathered in a central physical location, we do have a quorum in attendance at this meeting by video conference. Please say here when I call your name. Tony Hosso.
Here.
Sandy Huey.
Here.
Sandy Winkley.
Here.
Terry Williams.
Here.
David Byer.
Here.
Omar Leos.
Here.
Dr. Sean Micah.
Here.
We are meeting by Zoom software, which allows two-way communication for members of the public. Due to bandwidth requirements, we have the video portion of Zoom unavailable. As we would at any in-person meeting, members of the public who have followed the instructions on the meeting notice for registering to speak to an agenda item or during the matters from the floor section of the agenda will be unmuted for 3 minutes to speak. If you signed up to speak, please make sure you have followed the instructions on the agenda to join the meeting. If the speaker submitted written comments in advance, Sandy Huey will read the comments into record before the board's consideration of that item. All other meeting procedures will adhere to board-adopted procedures to the extent practicable. An audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. 551.072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. 551.074, to discuss personnel or to hear complaints against personnel, and the time is 5:31. The board will now reconvene into open session. The time is 6:28. On behalf of the trustees, I would like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the Northeast Independent School Board. This is a business meeting of the board held in public. We appreciate your attendance and request your respectful attention. We welcome your comments during the matters from the floor section of the agenda. If you signed up to address a specific action agenda item, you will be called at that time. Finally, I would like to remind you that it is the mission of Northeast to challenge and encourage each student to achieve and demonstrate academic excellence, technical skills, and responsible citizenship. Item 5, invocation and pledge of allegiance. Terry.
Okay, thank you. Shall we bow? Many students will lose their senior year, last moments, possibly graduation ceremonies and proms for some, if not all. Father, we know there are grave events happening, lives lost, and many others on the line or fighting to breathe. But we also know that you grieve with us over every loss. Help both teachers and students to grieve losses, look forward to in a healthy and honest way, and then help all of them to rally in gratitude for all of the things that have not been lost. This crisis may be long-standing, but it would not last forever, Father. Help our educators and teachers come alongside our students in this moment of loss, fear, and crisis. You know our needs, Father. You know the heart of every teacher, educator, counselor, coach, aide, and staff member. You know the needs and challenges of every student. Be our guide, Father. Show us who needs help, how to help, and sustain and provide for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Terry. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. Thank you all. Item 6, matters from executive session. A, personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074. 1, possible action regarding routine personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments Do I have a motion to approve as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Okay, please state your name. Was that Ms. Winkley?
So moved, Sandy Winkley.
Okay, do I have a second?
Tony will take a second.
I think that was Tony.
Tony, I can barely hear you. Is there a way to turn your mic up maybe?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay, and then all those in favor, let's do roll call, please.
Tony Hasso votes aye.
Cindy Huey, aye.
Sandy Winkley, aye.
Terry Williams, aye.
David Byer, aye.
Omar Leos, aye.
And Shannon Grona, aye. The motion carries. Item 2, possible action regarding recommendation for non-renewal of probationary contract employee. Do I have a motion to approve as discussed in executive session?
Terry Williams, so moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Omar Leos, second.
Thank you, Omar. And we'll do a roll call again. All those in favor say aye.
Tony Hasso votes aye.
Cindy Huey, aye.
Sandy Winkley, aye.
Terry Williams, aye.
David Byer, aye.
Omar Leos, aye.
Shannon Grona, aye. The motion carries. Item 3, possible action regarding proposed non-renewal of Chapter 21 term contract employee, no action. Item 4, introductions, no introductions.
I have no introductions this evening, Mrs. Grant.
Okay, thank you. Item B, possible action on the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property pursuant to Government Code Section 551.072, no action. C, possible action regarding consultation with board's attorney pursuant to Government Code Section 551.071, 1, pending and or possible litigation, no action. Item 7, recognitions. A, NEISD Student Volunteer of the Year. Mrs. Chancellor.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and all of our other guests, I'd actually like to ask our volunteer resource manager, Brooke Pate, to address this item and tell you a little bit more about this amazing student.
Activities was building a house for a family through Habitat for Humanity. On his nomination form, Christopher wrote, "The greatest impact that I have had while volunteering would be my favorite service, working on and building homes through Habitat for Humanity.
Miss Pate.
Being able to build a home with my friends was an amazing thing. The outcome of this project was so rewarding." Christopher plans on attending Trinity University in the fall, where he will be in charge of the community service for his dorm hall. Just want to say congratulations to Christopher and good luck at Trinity next year. You're an amazing student.
Mrs. Pate,
Yes.
this is Dr. Micah. I'm sorry, you were on mute for about half of that. Can you go back through that again because we missed most of it?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Can you just redo it for us, please?
I sure
And I
will, not
still-
a problem.
And I still can't see anything on the screen.
So
Okay, are we good? Can I go ahead and start?
So, Ms. Pate, we cannot see your screen, so if there was something to share, we can't see it.
Okay.
But that's okay if you'll just go back and at least let us know, okay?
Thanks so much. Sorry about
Thank you.
that. Okay. I'm here to present the NEISD Student Volunteer of the Year on behalf of the volunteer program. In April, each of our high schools nominated a Student Volunteer of the Year. The volunteer office reviewed each campus nomination and the top 3 students were interviewed. The individual district winner is selected not only for their contribution to the community, but also for the leadership they provide to their campus and to other students. I would like to introduce you to this year's NEISD Student Volunteer of the Year, Christopher Prusky from Churchill High School. Christopher is a senior at Churchill who exemplifies the NEISD way. While attending Churchill, Christopher has been involved with the Churchill's Winner's Circle, NHS, Habitat for Humanity, Blanco Vista Nursing Home, and he's also very involved with his church as a Life Teen Faith Formation leader and ACTS director. Christopher discovered his passion for volunteering in the 6th grade after seeing his older brother volunteering in the community. One of his favorite volunteer activities was building a house for a family through Habitat for Humanity. On his nomination form, Christopher wrote, "The greatest impact that I have had while volunteering would be my favorite service, working and building homes through Habitat for Humanity. Being able to build a home with my friends was an amazing thing. The outcome of this project was so rewarding." Christopher plans on attending Trinity University in the fall, where he will be in charge of community service for his dorm hall. Congratulations to Christopher and good luck at Trinity next year. You're an amazing student.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you for reading that again. And congratulations to Christopher. I think he's on, right? As an
Yes, he
attendee?
should be.
Okay, all right. So I just want to tell you, Christopher,
Hello.
congratulations and thank you for being such a great community volunteer. And we wish you the best of luck next year.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the award and just everything that's came my way. Thank y'all.
Yeah. Good luck to you. Okay, item B, Cyber Patriot All Service National Champions, Cyber Patriot All Service Cisco Networking Challenge Champions, Cyber Patriot All Service National Third Place Trophy. Dr. Micah.
Thank you, Mrs. Grona. It is my real pleasure tonight to let you all know, and you probably have heard it already because many of you attended when our teams actually won the Mayor's Cyber Cup. We were over at the Omni, and we knew these teams were going to compete in Bethesda, Maryland. Of course, they didn't actually travel up there due to COVID-19, but they did compete virtually and were connected. And so I want to let you know that Team 123670 won the Cyber Patriot National title with their first place finish, and also took home the All-Service Cisco National Trophy. And now I've got to say this before I introduce these people. So one young man, Fardim, had actually promised me that they were going to win first place. And he reminded me on my on my Zoom with them last Thursday that he in fact did deliver on his promise. So the team members are Fardim Bahimi, Frida Farias, Tristan Lee, Harrison Lewis, and Jacob Rahimi, and each one of them received a $4,000 scholarship. Team 123669 finished in third place overall, and those team members are Paul Bazzani, Alex Bryant, Chandra Levy, Julian Pena, Remy Place, and Francisco Rodriguez, and each one of those earned a $1,000 scholarship. So the students that made up these teams were from the Engineering and Technologies Academy, or ETA, the Design and Technology Academy, DATA, and Roosevelt JROTC students. And I have to recognize their coach, Mr. Josh Beck, who as the teacher and coach, but they worked very hard. And congratulations to both of those teams. They represented the Northeast Independent School District and Roosevelt High School very well. And we only can look forward to even more to come from that area. So thank you.
Thank you. That was very exciting. And I can remember when we were at the Omni, Sandy Winkley, I don't know if you remember, but when we were on the stage taking pictures, they said, we're going to bring 1 and 2 home. So they came 1 and 3rd. So that was fantastic.
Such a proud day. It was a really proud day.
Yes. So very proud of them. So That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, item 8, presentations. A, COVID-19 update, Dr. Micah.
Thank you, Madam President. Board members, if you'll recall, the last month's board meeting, we gave you an update on COVID-19 and some things that are going on. So this is just yet another update to some of the things that are happening in the school district since then. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to members of my executive staff that are going to brief you on just some areas that are new.
Okay, this is Donna Newman, Associate Superintendent, starting off the presentation. Good evening, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. This evening, executive staff would like to provide you with a brief update regarding the work being done to continue to address the challenges being presented due to the COVID-19 closures. As Dr. Micah mentioned at our last board meeting, we shared with you the immediate considerations we were working on at that time. We also shared with you some of the areas that we were going to work on. So a member of each division is now going to briefly share with you some of the matters we are currently working on. In the Division of Instruction and Campus Administration, we're constantly reviewing our processes and requirements and determining of any needed adjustments that might need to occur. So one example of this, you may have already read the consent agenda item regarding required physicals. While UIL requires that physicals be conducted only in the first and third year of participation, NEISD always has required the annual physicals. The consent item that you're being asked to approve tonight is asking for a one-time exception to FFA local so that we don't inundate our frontline medical professionals with requests for physical exams when they're dealing with other medical concerns. And that is one example of the work that we're doing. At this time, I'll turn it over to Rudy Jimenez, our Assistant Superintendent of Campus Administration.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. In the area of campus administration, we are planning 2 events that occur right before school starts. One is August Summer Leadership, currently planned for late July. The other event includes the 7 convocations that occur the week before school starts for students. As you know, both of these events have a large number of participants. Teams are currently working on at least 2 sets of plans, an in-person event, the traditional way, and a full virtual event. We do have to consider varying degrees of hybrid models additionally. I am also part of a group that was charged by Dr. Micah to develop awareness and resources for employee wellness and mental health. As a result, we have created an adult wellness and mental health website. Many departments have collaborated to bring this needed resource to fruition. The website is stocked with varying degrees of resources, including crisis lines, centers of support, and peer-reviewed articles on adult self-care. This website is meant to be a one-stop shop for our employees and community needing a spectrum of assistance. Our work should be completed in the next couple of weeks, and we strongly believe that this resource is needed even more so due to our current situation with COVID-19. I respectfully ask the board to consider a presentation in the future to showcase this work. So now I will turn it over to Mr. Jarrett.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Rudy, for turning it over to me. I have a few updates that we have going on in the Office of Curriculum and Instruction. One of the things that we've been working on as of lately is redesigning our curriculum to support the students as they return to school in the fall. This redesign is taking consideration to the COVID slide that potentially has happened to some of our kiddos that didn't have access to the high quality learning that they would get if they were in a face-to-face situation with teachers. So we're in the process of completing that task. Another item that we are launching that will start in June 4th, is our summer school program. Summer school this year will be conducted as a one-to-one face-to-face. What that means is that every student will be given a device this summer, and they will have FaceTime with teachers to engage in high impact learning. And so this is our opportunity to engage with all students that have access to the to learning. We are also looking at a re-engagement camp. We also know there are some students who actually had an even greater slide in their academics due to the COVID-19 closeout. And so we are looking at a re-engagement academy to try to get those kids back on track as they enter school in the fall. In addition, we are looking at an enrichment camp. One of the things that we've talked about is also we've had students out of the classroom for an extended period of time, and these are students that enjoy being stretched using their imagination. And so we're looking at an idea around a camp invention. So kiddos will be able to invent something that kind of lights their fire. Another item that we're in the process of working on is a training model for all of our teachers district-wide that centers around distance learning and blended learning. We want to be even more prepared in the future so to ensure our students have the most robust and very giving learning experience that we can provide them. And so these hours will be spent with teachers learning how to engage in distance learning and blended learning. Last item that I'm very proud of, all of these I'm very proud of, but this particular one is our students that were, or families that we've been taking care of during this time. Last week, we served over 1,500 meals with our NEISD family specialists partnering with the San Antonio Food Bank, and they served 1,500 meals last week and 600 meals the week before. And so all these items have included a great deal of effort on a lot of people, and I'm just very proud of the work that the folks in curriculum instruction have done during this time of COVID-19. Thank you. At this time, I'll turn it over to Dan Villarreal.
Good evening, everyone. This is Dan. In finance and accounting, we've been processing refunds for prepaid tuition for the Pre-K Academy, Ready, Set, Go, and Kids Involvement Network. We're working with campus principals, bookkeepers, and activity sponsors to review all canceled campus club events and determining parent refunds. In library services and technology, we're set to finish all our Wi-Fi access points at all our campuses probably by tomorrow, so we'll be all wired at all our campuses. And we're working with curriculum instruction on the formulation of online summer school digital learning. Our web services team is working on building teacher web pages to support distance learning. So that's an ongoing process, and I think it's been well received. In risk management employee benefits, we filed a business interruption claim under our property insurance policy with AIG. When we also completed the application process for the Federal Emergency Management, or FEMA, public assistance grant. We filed that last month. And we're working with the Texas Division of Emergency Management to complete the DER 4485, which can give us access to some Texas grants. And we've looked at COVID and recovery reopening appendix and trying to send that out to our campuses to help with class closings and locker cleanouts. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ronald Dale Clary.
Good evening. A week ago today, our maintenance, custodial services, NEPD, school nutrition, and transportation employees transitioned back to work, and I'm very proud and happy to say that it was a very smooth transition. Something that you should know as the board, that while I was out visiting sites last Monday, I did have a few employees come up to me to thank the district and the board for paying them during the time that they were off. They have seen their friends and others that did not get paid, and they wanted to express their appreciation. As of today, school nutrition has served over 1.4 million meals. We are seeing a slight reduction in the number of meals being served, and attribute that to parents probably going back to work. Adult and community education continues to plan for summer camps, but of course that will depend on whether we are allowed to do so by the governor or by the city. Finally, I think I gave an update last month on the construction projects, but we have two major projects, the Lee Fine Arts Center and Nimitz Fine Arts Center projects that are currently happening, and both of them have experienced some delay due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are starting to see manpower increase at those sites, but neither project will open on time. The Lee project will probably be sometime mid-semester of next school semester, as well as the Nimitz project. But we continue to monitor those projects and keeping tabs on their progress. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Aubrey Chancellor.
Good evening, everyone. Moving forward in communications, we are kind of beginning to shift our mindset out of just solely focusing on crisis communications and starting to cover more of those typical stories that we are accustomed to, our Teacher of the Year ceremony, awards, reminding people to fill out their census, that sort of thing. We are continuing to do our hashtag NEISD cares. Those are obviously doing very well, those stories. A couple of our big highlights from the last couple of weeks are, of course, when we reached 1 million meals served from our school nutrition department, when we started putting in the Wi-Fi points at all of the schools, and our nurse hotline when that was launched. Those were some of our very, very successful posts. And finally, I'll just talk to you a little bit about the numbers. We are seeing a little more of a return to normal. Our numbers for engagement, likes, that sort of thing are coming down from when we were at the height of the crisis communications, and information was coming pretty quickly, rapidly, and things were changing. I think people have now kind of settled in to the new normal. And so while our numbers are higher than our average, they are down from the last time that I reported to you when people were really seeking out new information daily. I think that just really indicates that they come when they need information, but again, that they are kind of just accepting their new reality, and things aren't coming as quickly and as feverishly as they were a few weeks ago. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Dr. Newman now to wrap up the rest of this presentation.
Thank you, Mrs. Chancellor. Finally, just wanted to let you know that the executive staff has been working closely with principals at all levels to identify and assist with those tasks that needed to be completed by the end of the school year. And this work continues, and a lot of the things that need to be completed by the end of the year are already in progress, and some of the items we're continuing to work on. So this concludes our presentation and can take any questions that you might have at this time.
So before there are any questions, I just want to say a couple of things quickly. This is Sean Micah. One, I want to thank the executive staff, the principals, the teachers. I mean, again, through all of this, this team has come together. I just got an email this evening, actually, from someone that stated this has been the most support they've ever received during their career during this. And so, you know, it really does take a village to get things done. And I'm extremely proud of the village that we have here in the Northeast School District. I also want to say, Rudy talked a little bit about the page. I am going to ask them to come back in June and share that with you at the regular board meeting. But I think you will be very impressed with what you will see. I did get that presentation on Friday. And you'll recall one of my goals is the mental health, social emotional learning for not just our students, but our employees. These 5 people that are going through or pursuing their superintendent certificate worked on this project that focuses on adults. It is a one of a kind in the state. In fact, Region 20 has already asked that we present this to the RAC, where all of the superintendents in the Region 20 are there, because they think it's so unique and so beneficial. So we look forward to sharing that with you. And then also, of course, with the faculty and staff around our district. So with that, any questions that you all have, we're here to answer them.
Okay, I'll start with you, David.
Thank you very much. I had just a couple of questions. The first one is for Mr. Jarrett. I've been excited to let everybody I can come across or talk to on the phone that our schools are getting Wi-Fi access and they're able to get it through the parking lot if they need to get their kids get their homework done and get schoolwork finished. But have you received any feedback from anybody that's used it, good or bad? I'm extremely grateful for this district to provide that to people, and I just would like to see if we've heard anything from anybody related to that specific topic.
At this time, I have not heard one way or the other, but I will say that we find it hugely beneficial because right now we're kind of going to leverage that as a resource for ourselves to ensure that if we're doing something digitally and us launching a one-to-one during the summer school, kiddos can use that access point to maintain their learning.
Well, I think it's a fantastic thing that the district has done, and I commend everybody that's been involved in getting that to happen because I think it's been helpful for those folks that don't necessarily have that connection at home that's reliable or there at all. So that's great. And Dr. Micah, this one might be for you or Mr. Villarreal, but I know that we're keeping track of what's being spent through the COVID-related expenditures. And I think last month we really hadn't gone outside our budget. I just wanted to check in general, are we still tracking that way? Are we expending more? I know Mr. Villarreal mentioned several grants and other ways that we're looking into subsidize some of our expenditures, but just if you have just a little bit of information related to that might be helpful.
Sure. So I'll jump in and then Mr. Villarreal, if you'll weigh in as well. So we've been tracking COVID-19 expenditures since the very onset of this. We've been talking with TEA. As you well know, the CARES Act did give some money to school districts. To the states for schools. And so we've been working with TEA to make certain we're filing the proper paperwork and things for reimbursement of those expenditures that we've had. So Mr. Villarreal last week just completed a survey for TEA based on where we are at spending at this point. Mr. Villarreal, anything else to add?
No, sir. We're within our budgets. It's not something that we've kind of gone over. There's been some cost savings in some different areas that we haven't spent since we've been out of school since the middle of March. So I think once we analyze and we get it all together and hopefully get something from the CARES Act or FEMA or some of these other grants, we'll get some of that reimbursed. But it's nothing that we've gone over our budget.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody on executive staff who has helped and your teams who have helped put this information together and keep moving forward with what we're all trying to get through. So, Madam President, that's all I have at this time.
Okay, thanks. Sandy Winkley.
Thank you. Just a few questions, but first I want to say thank you. You guys have been, not that I'm surprised, but have been at work, working very hard for this district and for our kids. And I cannot thank you enough. I'm sitting here taking notes and I feel like I just wrote a dissertation. There's just so much information. It's exciting. First question is for Dr. Newman. You had stated the principals you were working with principals, the executive staff was about end of year tasks. I wondered if part of that included getting textbooks turned back in, devices turned back in. What is that process going to look like?
Thank you, Ms. Winkley. We let every campus figure out what worked best for their building, for their personnel in order to return textbooks. There were library books to be considered. We actually had a 2-page list of things that campuses needed to consider. How to clean out the lockers, and returning of band instruments, spirit uniforms, a lot of considerations for fine arts and athletics. So what we did is we created a Google form And with this list, and principals were able to share their ideas with one another about what might be most effective. And I'm telling you, the principals stepped up and developed plans appropriate for their campus.
Okay, that's awesome. And on that, with that, this one is for Mr. Jarrett. So the summer school, the devices will come back out, and then whoever signs for summer school, they'll go, I mean, we'll come back in, and then whoever signs up for summer school will go back out. Is that correct? Is that what's going to happen?
Yes, that is correct. We have a plan for devices to be returned back to their original site. Those devices will then be cleaned by the technology department to ensure that it is ready for redistribution to students. At that time, when students sign up for summer school, they'll also come up, get a device, and then the teachers will be working with kids collaboratively through this one-to-one initiative.
Okay, and is it just normal as, I mean, process as usual, procedure as usual, where teachers that are signed up to do the re-engagement camps, the academies, the enrichment training that you, enrichment camp that you spoke of, and summer school will just be teachers that have signed up to work summer school or work through those programs, or do you have specific personnel assigned to the re-engagement and enrichment?
No, the teacher will apply to work summer school. Summer school will be the first extension or summer program that will be launched. The second one that we're looking at right now is the enrichment and re-engagement happening closer to the end of July times.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have. Thank you, Ms. Corona.
Sure, Ms. Huey?
I just had a comment, and it's mainly to say thank you to this incredible staff for the work that you've done during COVID-19. I had an extremely proud moment last week. The TASB directors are having regular conversations with the Commissioner of Education, Mike Morath. And during our meeting with him last week, of course, it's a Zoom meeting, I was very proud and surprised when Mike called out by name Northeast and recognized us for having a 98% contact rate with our students for a large district. This is entirely unheard of in the States. Of course, the smaller rurals where they know all of their students because they live next door to them, it's not as hard to make sure that everyone's staying in contact, although some of them are still struggling too. So, I mean, of course, our teachers get the first kudos there, but this staff has been amazing in the job that you've done. So thank you so much for what you've done to make sure that our community stays together and our children are continuing to learn as best they can. So thank you.
Tony?
Yeah, Madam President, thank you. My question would be, I guess also for Mr. Jarrett, related to the summer camps that are planned. Do we currently have a feel for, maybe how popular, and I suspect that they might be popular just given the fact that, our kids are not used to going to this distance learning model. And so, as it's been said, there's the summer slide, but then there's also this COVID-19 slide. Do we have maybe even just a hunch of how popular this might be?
I mean, we don't have a survey or anything at this point to be able to identify how many kids will participate or not. We're hopeful based on the fact that students have been out of school for an extended period of time. And our highest hope is to make it an engaging experience where they want to be part of it. And so we're in the process of reviewing all of the opportunities that we can provide our students and strategically making sure that we communicate effectively to the community.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, and I really am happy to hear that you all have thought of this, and hopefully going forward, maybe we learn that it's yet another tool that we can use, to engage our kiddos over those summer months. Just with the use of technology, given the investment that we've made thus far in it. But, again, echoing my colleagues, thank you to all of you who have been really just kind of making it work given the circumstances. So hats off to all of you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't see any other hands. Am I missing somebody? Okay, if not, thank you all for the update. It's, you know, it's really enlightening when it seemed like just last week we were at 1 million meals and now we're at 1.4 million. I mean, it just is really, it's fun to hear these updates of all the great things that we're doing, the Wi-Fi at all the schools. I mean, I feel like we're just heads and shoulders above everybody else in our response to this. So kudos to you all and your teams for making this all work. So item 9, new business for possible board action. A, resolutions. 1, possible action regarding resolution to donate surplus equipment for healthcare workers fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests, I call on Tom Johnson, our Executive Director for Technology and Library Services, to cover this resolution.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. You have just heard Dr. Micah and executive staff's update on the district's extraordinary support efforts to help combat and cope with COVID-19. This evening, I'm seeking your approval for a resolution that will allow Northeast ISD to increase our attempts to assist healthcare workers in their response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Cisco Systems, a global leader in networking technologies, is surveying its clients and collecting used or surplus wireless networking equipment for the repurposing at thousands of hospitals around the world who are setting up temporary COVID-19 treatment and testing facilities. The district equipment identified for possible donation was removed from campus use during the 2013-2014 school year and is currently located on shelves in the district's general warehouse. The district traditionally attempts to sell used or obsolete technology via online auctions, but we believe donating to this cause is far more valuable than monies potentially obtained through auction. I hope that you agree, and I welcome any questions or comments that you may have regarding this resolution.
Do I have any board members with any questions? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, thank you for bringing this. I think it's a great idea. I love that we can contribute to that. So do I have a motion to approve the resolution to donate surplus networking equipment for healthcare workers fighting the COVID-19 pandemic?
Sandy Winkley, so moved.
Thank you, Sandy. Do I have a second?
David Byer, second.
Thank you, David. And then all those in favor will roll call.
Tony Hasso votes aye.
Sandy Huey, very yes, aye.
Sandy Winkley, aye.
Terry Williams, aye.
David Byer, aye.
Omar Leos, aye.
Shannon Grona, aye. Thank you. The motion carries. Item 2, possible action regarding Police Recognition Week. Mr. Clary.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests, at this time, I will turn it over to our police chief, Wally McCampbell.
Thank you, Mr. Clary. Good evening. Tonight, I'm presenting to you a resolution to recognize the men and women of the Northeast Independent School District Police Department. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Police Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls is National Police Week. When the decision is made to become a police officer, it is expected of us to put ourselves in harm's way. As first responders, we do not do this for the recognition, but to protect those who we have sworn to serve. Even though this resolution is to recognize our officers, during this time of crisis, we have seen countless employees of this district come together without reservation and put themselves in harm's way to continue to support those in need in our community. We at the department would like to say thank you to all of them who continue to serve our district during this time of uncertainty. We at the department would also like to say a special thank you to you, the board, Dr. Micah, and executive staff for everything y'all have done, not only for all employees of this district, but also the kids and families during this time. Because of your leadership, we will continue to make positive impacts to all the students and staff for the continued success of the Northeast Independent School District. Therefore, I'm requesting that the Board of Trustees to approve the week of May 11th through the 15th as Police Recognition Week. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I don't see any hands raised. So I'm assuming there's no questions or comments about this. So do I have a motion to approve the attached resolution recognizing the week of May 11th to May 15th, 2020 as Police Week?
This is Tony Hasso, so moved.
Thank you, Tony. Do I have a second?
Omar Leal, second.
Thank you, Omar. All those in favor say aye. Roll call, please.
Tony Hasso votes aye.
Sandy Huey, aye.
Sandy Winkley, aye.
Terry Williams, aye.
David Byer, aye.
Omar Leal's aye.
And Shannon Grona, aye. The motion carries. Thank you again. Item B, instruction and campus administration. 1, possible action regarding approval of employment contracts. Dr. Newman.
Thank you, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. At this time, we're going to ask that you approve the proposed recommendations for renewal of employment contracts. Our Human Resources Department brings this to you every year. Mr. Trevino, our Executive Director for Human Resources, is available should you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Newman. Did anybody, I don't see any hands raised. So seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the proposed recommendations for renewal of employment contracts?
Terry Williams, so moved.
Do I have a second?
David Byer, second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Roll call, please.
Tony Hasso votes aye.
Sandy Huey, aye.
Sandy Winkley, aye.
Terry Williams, aye.
David Byer, aye.
Omar Leal's aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Shannon Grona, aye. The motion carries. Item 2, possible action regarding 2020-2021 administrative training program. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. I'd like to invite Dr. Justin Oxley, Executive Director for School Administration, to address this action item.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and virtual guests. Each year at this time, Ms. Jensen, Dr. Canada, Mr. Reasons, and I bring before you for your consideration the list of names of candidates who applied and were tentatively selected for the Northeast Administrative Training Program. This year, 18 individuals applied for our program. From the initial list of applicants, 14 were selected to be interviewed, and from that 14, 10 have been recommended for participation in our administrative intern program. These 10 individuals were selected by the executive directors of school administration and 3 experienced principals from our districts, who are Brenda Shelton from Reagan High School, Dr. Charles Raniger from Tex Hill Middle School, and Kelly Nungesser from Delview Elementary School. Our request this evening is that you approve our participant recommendation list for the 2020-2021 Administrative Training Program. I will also be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time as well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Oxley. I do see some hands raised. I'll start with you, Ms. Huey.
Hi, Dr. Oxley. I noticed that you were saying that there was 18 applicants and only 10 are in this class. That's a considerably lower number than in previous years. I know last year's class was also smaller. Is this a trend? Is this deliberate? And why such a low number that applied?
It's not a trend. We open it up to every individual that is eligible to be considered. We are seeing that these individuals are trying to get their certificate, and that process has changed to what is called the PASL, and it's considerably harder. It's a longer process, and maybe because of this process, we are seeing smaller numbers applying for this intern program.
Okay. Do you feel like though that I know that this program has been such a vital part of the leadership of the district, and I'm concerned that we're not seeing the numbers able to participate in it. Is there any other program that maybe, is there something that we can look at to increase these numbers, or is it a good idea to even be increasing these numbers? Are we training these people for other districts, or do we tend to keep them here? What do you see the future of this program looking like if this becomes too difficult to get into?
Mrs. Huey, this is Dr. Newman. I'm going to jump in here. What Dr. Oxley had said with the PASL is accurate. So we are seeing fewer folks meeting the certification requirements at this time. You know, earlier, years ago, there had been typically small numbers in the administrative intern program. And so we were able to go really in depth with these folks. And so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that we're seeing the small numbers. Keep in mind also that when we hire assistant principals, if they're not in the intern program, they're automatically added to this program. So we typically add, you know, anywhere between 4 to 10 or even 12 people to this program. So when we keep the numbers small, we're really able to provide more intensive administrative practices and training. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, Mrs. Huey.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate that answer. I've always been extremely proud and impressed with this program. It seems to have turned out some really great leaders for this district. So I know it's a really good thing. So thanks.
Couldn't agree more with you. Thank you.
David.
Well, first of all, congratulations to the people that are the 10 folks that made the program. And Dr. Oxley, I just had a quick question, just with my short time on the board. What is the frequency that these folks get together, and is it a weekly thing, monthly thing? Do they daily? What is their commitment requirement for this program?
Absolutely, Mr. Byer. After the approval from the board this evening, we will reach out to these applicants, and they will start off in helping assist in our Summer Leadership Academy. This will either be in person or virtually, but we will ask these candidates to actually help us during that 3-day conference. We then will meet with these individuals, usually on Mondays, approximately 3 to 4 times a month. And we have individuals throughout the district that come and present to these interns for networking purposes, and also to show exactly how we do things in Northeast. We also have the interns do presentations throughout the year that we would hope that they would take back to their individual campuses and spread the knowledge that they've learned through the intern program to their individual campus or school.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's great. And I think, you know, especially with a smaller class size, we're not trying to make smaller class sizes, but with the different application process and being able to really get in and work with these folks on a deeper level, I think that's great, especially if they're meeting so frequently and being able to take that back and apply that information. So anyway, I just wanted that for my own information. So I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, I'm looking, I don't see any other hands. So do I have a motion to approve the applicants selected for the 2020-2021 Administrative Training Program as presented?
Sandy Winkley, so moved.
Thank you. Sandy, do I have a second?
David Byer, second.
Thank you, David. All those in favor say aye. Roll call, please.
Tony Hasso votes aye.
Sandy Huey, aye.
Sandy Winkley, aye.
Terry Williams, aye.
David Byer, aye.
Omar Leos, aye.
Shannon Grona, aye. The motion carries. Thank you. Item C, consent. 1, instruction and campus administration. A, annual physicals for athletes. 2, business services. A, waiver of penalties and interest. B, bid items. C, donations. 3, operations. A, 2016 hail damage roof repair and replacement program, Madison High School Central Plant re-roofing and roof-related work project schematic design approval. B, professional service contracts, construction contracts, and related contract amendments supporting the 2015 bond design and construction requirements, City of San Antonio Pre-K for SA program, and 2016 hail damage roof repair and replacement program. 4, minutes from April 2020. 5, end of consent. Do I have a member wishing to pull an item from consent? David, your hand is raised.
Madam President, yes, I just had a question about item 3B, professional services contracts.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve consent without C3B?
This is Tony Hasso, so moved.
Hey, Tony, do I have a second?
Sandy Winkley, second.
Thank you, Sandy. All those in favor say aye. Roll call, please.
Tony Hasso votes aye.
Sandy Huey, aye.
Sandy Winkley, aye.
Terry Williams, aye.
David Byer, aye.
Omar Leos, aye.
Shannon Grona, aye. Okay, the motion carries. Okay, David, C3B.
Yes, I had a question, I guess, for Mr. Clary, his folks, or Mr. Sullivan, if he's on. There were 3, this in the attachment we have that lists all the bond projects that are part of this. There's 3 projects, one for Kruger, one for Hidden Forest, and then another one for Garner. All had relatively large contract value changes, contract amendments. And I was curious if those are items that we knew about and we're just trying to disperse the monies at a even basis, or if there are things that came up that we did not quite anticipate. They all seem to be relatively similar in well, 2 of them are similar in price, and the one for Garner is a little bit more, but just curious what those are and why the large contract amendment.
I'm sorry, Mr. Byer.
Yes.
Hidden Forest, is that the one on the buyout of savings?
That
Yes.
is
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That is money that came back to the district.
Oh yeah, if I did my math, I'd see that it.
Yeah,
that dropped. I got you.
that is finishing up that project. The Garner, you said Garner, correct?
Yeah, let me make sure I didn't. Yeah, that was an increase, and so was Kruger Middle School.
I don't see Garner.
Garner's on page. It was one of the roofing.
Oh. Okay.
It's on the last page.
I got it.
Yeah, Garner.
Roof repair.
Okay.
That is, let's see, roof repair and replacement too. That's from the 2016 hail damage program.
Okay.
That we received the settlement for. So that is for that project. And the Kruger project, I've absolutely drawn a blank, and we'll need to call Mr. Sullivan real quick, and then I can get that answer back to you on Kruger.
Okay, that's fine. It was an increase. It just says construction contract change order. So I know that project looks fantastic, having seen it myself, and just curious what that amount was. So any time that we get that answer, that's fine.
Mr. Byer, hang on a second. hang on. Mr. Byer, if you'll hang on just a second, I've got Gary on the other line. If you hang on.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, everybody.
Okay, Mr. Byer, the one on Kruger, that is the payment that we owed the general contractor at the end of the project, and it's for all the change orders that occurred during the scope of the project.
Okay, so we just gave them one lump sum number at the end.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
there were multiple change orders, but then they all got saved to the end. Is that basically?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
sir. That was their fee at the end of the project.
Okay. Okay. So that's whether it was a $2,000 change order or a $50,000 change order, they all got kind of paid out at the same time.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. Any other questions?
No, that's it, Madam President. I'm done.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve consent item 3B?
David Byer, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Terry Williams, second.
All those in favor say aye. Please roll call. Tony? Have I lost Tony?
I think that was his dog.
No, unfortunately, that was my dog. Sorry
Sorry.
Okay, we're roll calling. Tony, are you with us?
Maybe it's his mic.
Sorry,
He said he.
my internet's unstable, so I dropped off. I'm back on though. Tony Hasso votes aye.
Okay.
Sandy Huey, aye.
Sandy Winkley, aye.
Terry Williams, aye.
David Byer, aye.
Omar Leos, aye.
Shannon Grona, aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 10, reports. A, financial statement review of expenditures, that's been provided to you. B, third quarter investment report, that's been provided to you. Item 11, matters from the floor. The trustees welcome comments from members of the public during this time of the meeting. Generally, board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting, although members may request further information or a future agenda item on a matter raised during public comment. As explained fully in the board's written procedures for this time, the matters from the floor portion is a limited public forum. Accordingly, speakers may present on the topic related to district business for up to 3 minutes, but are not permitted to make 1, personal complaints about an individual staff or board member that should be raised using the district's grievance policies, 2, a personal action, 3, a student disciplinary matter, 4, a complaint about a particular student, 5, or pending litigation. Any person who persists in speaking on these topics after being directed not to do so will lose the remainder of their time to speak and may lose their privilege of addressing the board at future meetings. We also welcome written comments at any time, either through email at board@neisd.net or by mail, care of the superintendent's office at 8961 Tesoro Drive, 6th floor, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. Ms. Huey.
Melissa Beckett.
Oh, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Melissa Beckett. I live at 910 La Falda, San Antonio, Texas. At the March 20th special meeting, you adopted the COVID-19 resolution on compensation for personnel and emergency matters. I appreciate so much your dedication to Northeast ISD staff safety and their financial stability in these unprecedented times. Unfortunately, as part of this resolution, you secretly suspended the grievance process. Its suspension was not mentioned in open session, and the language of the resolution was not available to the public in any manner prior to the adoption of the resolution. The last agenda item at the same meeting was titled Temporarily Suspend Texas Public Information Act. Your response to this item during open session was no action. On or around March 25th, the grievance process and the Texas Public Information Act were both suspended by the district. As a member of the public, there was no written notice or verbal action at the board meeting that would have led to the understanding that both of these processes had been suspended. Texas has long agreed that the inherent right of Texans to govern themselves depends on their ability to observe public business, access its records, and have an avenue of redress or complaint. On March 16th, when the governor's office suspended certain requirements of the Open Meetings Act, he also stressed that the need for transparency was essential at this time. He did not suspend the requirement to be transparent. As of today, both the grievance process and the Texas Public Information Act process are still suspended. That is more than 45 days, during which time the district has closed off all avenues of transparency to the public. The district continues to claim that both of these processes are considered non-essential operations, yet these two processes are how Texans are assured open government and transparency. I believe these actions beginning March 20th are in violation of the Open Meetings Act, against the spirit of the Attorney General's skeleton crew exception, a violation of board policy and your promise to be transparent, and most importantly, a violation of the trust the community has placed in you. From the very beginning of this tragedy we are living in, nothing in the stay-at-home order required either of these two processes to be suspended. Education is an essential business. I am disappointed that transparency to the public was and is still considered to be unimportant and non-essential. Now, business offices can reopen to 25% capacity. Due to the size of our district and school facilities, it seems very reasonable for any ISD staff and teachers to stay safe and maintain social distancing if they are needed to assist with either of these processes. Dr. Micah, I believe you have the authority to restore both processes without needing board approval. I implore you to do so immediately.
And that's all.
Thank you. Item 12, discussion and possible action regarding board members' requests for items to be placed on a future agenda and or requests for reports from the administration. Do I have a board member wishing to put an item on future agenda? I don't see any hands raised. Item 13, adjournment, and the time is 7:33. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Shannon. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.